So it seems like yesterday I remember telling everyone on my channel about what possibilities may be within Kaladesh. And now that it has been spoiled, I can finally do my set review of this set for Constructed Magic. One thing I will say though is even though I do like a lot of the cards in this set, I feel like this set was kind of underwhelming. There are some very powerful cards for constructed play, but it seems like this set kind of brings a little bit of flavor from a set like Mercadian Masks, which kind of toned down the power level a bit compared to the previous block. Don't get me wrong, I think there are tons of powerful cards in this set, but I feel like Wizards decided to take a little step back when it came to the power level at least. I also feel like the theme and flavor of the set just seems a lot more relaxed than previous Magic sets, and I think the reason is because the story behind this set really doesn't have any real antagonist or protagonist for that matter. It's just kind of a casual story of things happening. There doesn't really seem to be much going on except there's this giant fair on Kaladesh where everyone builds wondrous contraptions. I feel like this is a much more relaxed set premise than any other set we've had before, just because there really isn't the overlooming threat of danger nearby or some other threat that we don't know about. Right off the bat, I kind of like to talk about the new mechanics of the set as they're pretty bonkers and kind of out there. The first thing I'd like to talk about is vehicles. My goodness, I would have never thought in my entire life as a Magic the Gathering player where we would have ever come across a mechanic where we allow tigers to pilot cars. The way vehicles work is they each have an ability called Crew, where you can tap a certain amount of creatures with a certain amount of power level equal to the level of the crew's cost. This way, they can pilot the vehicle, and you can use that vehicle to attack or block as you like. This kind of puts up kind of an overshield over the creature you want to protect, so if there's a creature that you do have that you don't want to attack, you can man it in a vehicle, and the vehicle can sort of act as its armor. Another thing that's kind of a flavor fail on Wizards' behalf is even if you do tap the creature to pilot the vehicle, you can still destroy the creature, and the vehicle will still be active for the rest of the turn. It's a cool idea, and I can see why Wizards may have wanted to try something out like that. But to be honest, I don't really know how effective these cards are going to be in constructed play. Mainly because I feel like you need to just add additional cards that may or may not, well, go well with a vehicle just to make a vehicle work. Also, if you have absolutely no creatures, vehicles are almost useless unless they have some sort of activated or triggered ability that happens when they enter the battlefield. Out of all the vehicles, I think my favorites have to be the Fleet Wheel Cruiser, simply because it's just a nice aggressive mid-range vehicle, which can be powered for a turn without a creature. One benefit to some vehicles is they do have some activated or triggered abilities upon attacking. For example, the Sky's Sovereign Council flagship gives you the option to do 3 damage upon entering the battlefield or attacking. So if you do have a big creature that wouldn't normally do 3 damage, you can now gear it up in the ship and throw it at your opponent. Honestly, I don't really want this mechanic to get out of hand and become a regular thing occurring set, so I kind of hope it's just one of these only set-only kind of deals. I don't think this needs to be pushed anymore because the reason these things are effective in the first place is if you have creatures. Moving on, we have the energy mechanic, which provides us with an exciting new mechanic that gives us a brand new resource. Energy counters. I said energy counters! Anyway, the way this works is it works more like a currency. Certain spells and abilities will give you energy counters, and certain spells and abilities may allow you to pay energy counters so that you can make the spell more powerful. This mythic artifact here seems like it gives you a lot of energy if you run a lot of decks or a deck with a lot of sack outlets, as you'll get an energy counter every time you sacrifice a permanent. The last new mechanic introduced in this set is Fabricate. Not that Fabricate, the other one. That's better. Fabricate is a new mechanic that gives you a bit of flexibility whenever you play a creature with the set ability, giving you the option to give that creature an additional amount of counters equal to the Fabricate level, or a certain number of servo pet artifact creature tokens equal to its Fabricate number. I actually like this mechanic a lot, given that it gives you the option of giving more attackers or blockers when you really need it, or just putting all your eggs in one basket and making it really powerful. While vehicles may have been kind of a questionable artifact choice, the rest of the artifacts in the set seem to have a lot of exciting interactions within the game. I'm personally excited to try out Bombat Courier in a lot of my aggro decks, as it will allow me to refill my hand if need be. Considering aggro decks like to burn their hands out really quickly to establish a board presence and deal damage, this is really nifty. Also, I feel like this Eager Construct may have been a little bit pushed for aggressive decks. 2-2 with no drawbacks is always nice for an aggro deck, and really having your opponent scry around really isn't so much a big deal, considering they're just determining their upcoming draws and not much else. Since the theme of the set is based on a great fair where everyone makes neat inventions, there are some pretty wacky ones that Wizards has invented for this set. Take the Aetherflux Reservoir, for example. If you play a deck that functions a lot like a Storm combo deck, you can really chain together a lot of spells, gain a lot of life, and quite possibly even win the game the same turn. You just have to make sure you have enough 50 life, but when you have a bunch of chaining spells that chain in together, that doesn't seem to be much of a problem. Gia per Orrery seems like a solid card for EDH, as it gives everyone an additional land drop and the potential for more cards if you play every card in your hand. Again, this seems like just something that will be cute in EDH decks to help everyone out and make everyone like you a bit more. Kind of like a nice group hug card. My favorite wacky invention at this fair is the Panharmonicron, which is going to make my Kitchen Finks really, really good. Seriously though, this will probably end up in a lot of decks, whether it be for casual or constructed, where they will rely on triggered abilities. There will likely be a home in some deck for this card. In short, get ready to crap your pants with value. Reserving a spot in your Emerge deck, we have the Filigree Familiar, giving you the ability to stabilize early in the game and give you more cards when you use your Emerge creatures. My goodness, that's just nuts. Aside from the Emerge decks, I feel like this will find a home in some other decks, or even EDH decks, that need an additional value creature that you can need to stabilize or use for some other benefit. It's a pretty sweet card, and I think a lot of players are going to really enjoy it for what it is. While they're not really a cycle, the set introduces a new module artifact. These are separate artifacts that I feel have a synergy between their two abilities. And honestly, I feel like combined with the right cards, these can be really broken wide open. So keep your eye out for these, as they do have some potential in a lot of decks. Although, believe it or not, this is a reprint. The Chief of the Foundry is our nice little artifact lord that will likely see some play if artifacts, or affinity I guess you could say, ever becomes a thing in Standard. A lord for 3 mana is pretty standard, and this is actually a 2/3, so you could argue it's a little bit more pushed. Artifact decks will love it though, and I'm sure it will have a home somewhere in Standard at least. Prophetic Prism also sees another reprint for the second time, and this is a nice little mana fixer that gives you an additional card. This card isn't anything mind-boggling or anything, but I've always liked it, and it's nice to see that it's come back for another round at Standard. It's just too bad we're not getting a reprint of Hangerback Walker. That card looked like it was going to be in Kaladesh, considering its artwork and whatnot. And it's a really powerful and popular card. What? They are reprinting Hangerback Walker? Really? Just to ruin my boat. Just when you thought Wizards was actually going to come out of the closet and reprint some nice, awesome, rare cards to be replayed in Standard again, they just make a whole new cycle of, I guess you could say, special mythic rares, just like they did in the Battle for Zendikar block, only this time they're just frickin' inventions, or classic artifacts that have been known throughout Magic's history. Granted, there are a couple new ones from the new set that are in their invention form, which is a bright, shiny, mythic orange. But frankly, I think the idea of this just drives me bonkers, as there are so many of these cards that should be played in Standard, or could have been reprinted for Standard. Arguably, I think all these cards could have been played in Standard, except for maybe Chrome Mox. But aside from that, all of them are really flipping sweet, and I don't know why they're doing this special thing of having them on the side. Honestly, this set gets a lot of negative points just for this being here, just because you're not giving players access to these cards, and the only way you are is by making them pay a buttload of money, or just have them draft or buy a buttload of packs. This just really isn't fair. But every player should have access to these cards, and having them be some secret mythic rare just doesn't make any sense. I swear, with vehicles and secret rares in every set, I just think we're turning into some sort of other game. That's not even funny.